On today's show, the Capitals down the Red Wings, and the Capitals' top prospects continue to shine.
Your Locked On Capitals, your daily podcast on the Washington Capitals. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Well, hello and welcome into this edition of Locked On Capitals, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. My name is Dan Holme. I've covered the Capitals for the last 3 seasons for Locked On and various other outlets before that. I'm also the host of the weekly show called The Capitals Minutecast, available wherever you find your podcasts. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $200 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. So in this edition of Locked On Capitals, we talk about some of the Capitals' top prospects. I'll talk about Andrew Cristall and how he continues to dominate playing for Spokane. One of the top prospects for the Capitals, one of the last players to get cut from camp last fall. How is he progressing and what to expect from him next season? I'll talk about that a bit later. We'll talk about Ryan Leonard as he was named Hockey East Player of the Year. Quite an accomplishment for Ryan Leonard, who continues to knock it out of the park for Boston College on the international stage. When could he join the Capitals? I'll talk about that. But just to get it going here, talking about the Capitals as they pick up another big win, this time over the Red Wings. And, taking a look at the Red Wings, they were a team that was kind of in it. Then they lost a bunch of games, and now they're kind of teetering on kind of maybe getting in a wild card spot or maybe not making the playoffs at all. So you take a look at the Red Wings, not the season that they had hoped for. They had the head coaching change, and historically, I've kind of thrown the kitchen sink at the Capitals. So I know that even though the Capitals are tied for the most points in all of the NHL, it was not going to be an easy game. But the Capitals offense came up to play and really shined through big time in this game. And taking a look at the net minding, Logan Thompson, huge, like I talked about in yesterday's show, that they are moving in the direction of naming a number 1 netminder. And in this case, it's going to be Logan Thompson. So unless something happens to Logan Thompson, say, inconsistent play or worst case scenario, an injury, it does appear that LT has a firm grip on the reins of the netminding department. So let's dive into what happened against the Red Wings in that big win, a 4-1 victory. A dominating win. What a game. The Caps absolutely turned it up in the third period, firing 3 goals and securing their winning streak, now sitting at an impressive 7 wins out of their last 8 games. And, I've talked about on the show, and I oftentimes quote that quote from 24/7 Capitals Penguins. When they talk about a team is never as good as they appear when they're playing their best. That also the same is true when they're playing their worst, that, the ebbs and flows, the team will go up and down. But the Capitals this season, well, they haven't really fallen into that category of a lengthy losing streak. Knock on fake wood here that's not the case. But the good thing about the Capitals at this point is that we know they're going to make it into the playoffs. A unique position, and it's ultimately going to make the case of who's going to win the President's Trophy. The Capitals are that good this season, and the star players came out to shine. And of course, one of the biggest pieces on the Capitals this season, Dylan Strome, after missing practice on Monday due to that illness. There was a lot of questions about if he will be in the mix or not. He came back with a vengeance. You got to love Dylan Strome and the way he plays. Strome scored a powerful shot from the point, giving the Capitals an early 1-0 lead at just minutes into the first period. And oftentimes, like I talk about on the show, it's the team that strikes first is often the one that can vacuum that and use that momentum to push them forward. This marks his 2nd consecutive game scoring first for the team within the opening 8 minutes, and his 3rd time doing so in 4 games. So Dylan Strome continuing to knock it out of the park. No matter where he plays out on the ice, what line he's playing on, primarily we've seen him on the first line this season, he continues to be a constant contributor. And it's incredible to see him finding his rhythm, especially considering he's now netted goals in 4 of his last 5 games, leading the Capitals in points with 67 points through 68 games. So if there was ever a situation where we needed to find someone to replace a guy that has really big shoes to fill in Nick Backstrom, we found that in Dylan Strome. But this game did see some adjustments, some tactical adjustments by Coach Carbery. And one of the things that we love about Spencer Carbery is he is not this staunch old curmudgeon, that these are the lines the way I drew them out, and this is the way it's going to go out, hell or high tide. He made adjustments, made some tactical switches in the lines, separating Strome from Alex Ovechkin. Instead, Strome lined up with Tom Wilson and Connor McMichael. Now, while the grade 8 paired with Pierre-Luc Dubois and Aliaksei Protas, we still saw some great results. Speaking of pro, he and Dubois both hit the 60-point milestone. So, like I've talked about, this team could very well win the President's Trophy. Players reaching double-digit goals. Tom Wilson hitting 30 goals. This is truly a year to remember. Whatever happens, however this season ends, we're hoping for true greatness, a Stanley Cup, if I might say so. That just what this team has been accomplished, just really put a bookmark in your brain for the 24-25 season, as this has been truly a great season for this team, for the players, for the coaches, for everything. There's a lot to love. Now, Wilson also hit that personal milestone, scoring his 30th goal for the first time in his career. So again, like I've talked about on the show, if you are an everydayer to the people outside the circle of the DMV area, say you're not a Capitals fan, we know what he means. A legitimate goal scorer, 30 goals. How many goals has Reeves put up? Not so great. He was actually waived by the Toronto Maple Leafs. So, you take a look at it. There are tough guys out there, and they have their spot in the NHL. But you take a look at Wilson. He is a tough guy, a legitimate goal scorer, a leader, the complete package as far as a hockey player is concerned. So huge congrats goes out to Wilson. And let's not forget about Protas. Like I said, he's been making waves with 46 points at even strength. That's the big thing, those even strength ones where it's not on the PP, fair and square goals, putting him among the top players in all of the NHL. Dubois as well. That these the top 6 for the Capitals has been money for the Capitals all season, surpassing his previous season point by 20, marking his 3rd season hitting 60 points in the last 4 years. So, if I could talk to the same people, and put myself in a time machine and talk to them from this past summer and say, well, how do you like that PLD deal? I'm loving it. This is his first year playing with the Capitals, but what we have seen thus far is it has been a true gem by former GM Brian McClellan. And as far as Logan Thompson is concerned, he is the guy that's going to take over the reins of the team. Was a standout again, earning his 30th win of the season with some truly stunning saves. And in a lot of ways, Logan Thompson was looking for a bit of a bounce back season from the Golden Knights. Some bad blood there. As we know, the Golden Knights never gave their netminders the credit. They said, well, it wasn't really the netminders, it was the defense. I think that chip on his shoulder has remained. Carbery confirmed that he'll stay as the starting goaltender as we move towards the playoffs. He's just 2 wins away from tying the franchise record for most wins by a goaltender in their first season with the Caps, set by Jose Theodore. So quite an accomplishment by the Capitals, the first guy to do it since Theodore. Quite an accomplishment. So what's next for the Capitals? That's the game's next. What's going on this next week? Can they keep it going? It seems at some point that the bottom's got to fall out, but we're at the point of the season that if the bottom was going to fall out, I think it would have already happened already, right? So we're towards the tail end of the season, the back nine of the 24-25 season, just kind of waiting in a holding pattern, seeing how everything's going to shake out, where they're going to slot in the playoffs, and what to expect from Alex Ovechkin. That is the story, the underlying story. Other than the Capitals' great success is, when is Ovi going to catch Gretzky? There is a lot of excitement surrounding this team. All right, so coming up here after the break, we'll talk about Ryan Leonard being named Hockey East Player of the Year. A lot of questions. Why didn't he join the Capitals last season in their playoff push? I think it's becoming clear here that he had a whole lot more to prove. I'll discuss straight ahead.
Did you know getting a good night's sleep is the #1 recipe for long-term success in life? I didn't. It took me way longer to realize than I'd like to admit. It was years of tossing and turning. I was always tired. I never felt like I could live up to my potential, but not anymore. Thanks to Bear Mattress. I used their sleep quiz and I matched with the Elite Hybrid. It's perfect for side sleepers like me. Now I wake up energized. I'm getting deeper sleeps and I'm ready to attack the day. No matter how you sleep, Bear Mattress has a match for you with a focus on recovery, cooling, and pressure relief to upgrade your sleep and improve your overall quality of life. Go to bearmattress.com and use promo code LOCKEDONNHL at checkout for 40% off site-wide. This offer is not available anywhere else. You have to use my promo code on the very last page of checkout to get this discount. That's bearmattress.com and use promo code LOCKEDONNHL for 40% off site-wide. Bearmattress.com, promo code LOCKEDONNHL.
All right, welcome back into this edition of Locked On Capitals, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So in this next segment here, we're talking about the breakout season for Ryan Leonard. Again, he will probably be joining the team here in somewhat short order and will ultimately really catapult this team to the next level. And already there's conversations out there about who's going to come out of the lineup. We already saw Ethan Frank come out of the lineup to accommodate Anthony Beauvillier. So the odd man out in my assessment is Mangiapane. And if you take a look at it, has been an okay player, all things considered. But when Ryan Leonard is ready to join the Capitals, I think he is going to take this already great team to the next level. So what has been the latest with Mr. Leonard? Let's break that down in this next segment here. Got some exciting news coming out of the NCAA hockey that's definitely worth discussing, especially for those of us who keep a close eye on prospects. And say you are just a fan of players on the big team, if there is one player to circle, I would say Ryan Leonard, as he makes history. Let's talk about what he's put up at Boston College. He's just made history by becoming the first Eagle to snag the Hockey East Player of the Year title since 2014. So quite an accomplishment and another feather in an already great career. Hasn't even made it to pro hockey yet. Has not played his first regular pro hockey game and already lighting it on fire. Now, he's in elite company here. The last time we saw this honor go to a Boston College player was back in 2014 with none other than Johnny Gaudreau. Now, Leonard has had a phenomenal sophomore season. If you are an everydayer of the show, you know I talk about him quite often, and the excitement is palpable when he is going to join the team. And who's out there already going to order the Ryan Leonard Capitals jersey? I think that there's already people probably lining up. And the excitement, there's a lot of excitement. You know, we got Ovi, we got all that. But in that same breath, the excitement about a premier prospect from the Capitals, Ryan Leonard, joining this team is quite stunning, racking up a whopping 37 points, 25 goals, and 12 assists over just 24 games. That's some serious production. And I know that it's not an apples for apple comparison. You know, maybe he's not going to, just get blasted out of the gate right away when he joins the NHL. But if we can even see a glimpse of that, I think the raw talent is there. And I don't see there being a whole big learning curve for Ryan Leonard. Now, what's even more impressive is that he led the league in multiple categories goals, total points, points per game, and more. His stats are mind-blowing. 25 goals, 1.54 points per game, and an outstanding plus-minus rating of plus 25. He is the premier talent that we're looking for. Listen, we know that Alex Ovechkin has one more year left on his contract after this season and very well could ride out into the sunset. Tom Wilson is the heir apparent for the captain, but another really great player to step into a big role, kind of be one of the faces of the franchise. Yeah, I'm really that hyped on him, is Ryan Leonard, and he's really been a cornerstone for the team this year. Not to mention he bagged the Hockey East Player of the Month award twice, and picked up multiple Player of the Week honors. But taking a look at it and aiming for historic feats, Leonard is not only dominating in Hockey East, but is also the top goal scorer in all of the NCAA hockey with 29 goals, just one shy of making it to back-to-back 30-goal seasons. Wow. Is there any, I mean, you'd be hard pressed to find any negative stat about Leonard. A feat we haven't seen from a Boston College player since Cam Atkinson back in 2011. So, almost a generational talent. I don't want to get ahead of myself. Sometimes it's easy to just really get sucked into the enthusiasm, but suffices to say, I'm quite excited about Leonard's career so far and ultimately the above all end all, him joining the Caps. Now this season, he's totaled 47 points through 35 NCAA games, which is just incredible. Also a player that is going to be a game changer for the Capitals is Cole Hutson from BU. This kid has made waves, being named the Pro Ambitions Rookie of the Year. Listen, I'm talking Cristall in the final segment. I'm talking Leonard, and I'm talking Cole Hutson. This is the next wave, guys. At just 18 years old, he became the 13th player from BU to earn this award, following in the footsteps of recent achievements from players like Macklin Celebrini and his brother Lane Hutson. Some elite talent. And, Hutson put up 29 points in 24 conference games, leading all freshmen in scoring. Overall, he totaled 39 points this season, ranking him at the top of the country's first 5 players. Again, he is a bit further out than Leonard, probably a bit more further out than Andrew Cristall, but it's amazing to see him join his brother as one of the few defensemen to achieve 10 goals and 25 assists in the first 33 games of their careers. Quite an accomplishment, and all Hockey East recognition. The cherry on top for him to top it all off is Leonard and Hutson have been recognized as part of the 2024-25 All Hockey East first team. So it's a fantastic time to be a Capitals fan. I mean, there's a lot. You take a look at Wilson, Protas, McMichael. There is just a laundry list of really great storylines surrounding this team. But it's also the next wave that has me equally excited, considering we've got some promising prospects to keep an eye on as they continue to shine on the ice. Excitement abounds as a Capitals fan. If you're not fully in as being a Capitals fan, now is the time, because this team is good right now. It is going to even be better, if you can believe it, in years to come. All right, so coming up here after the break, I'll talk about Andrew Cristall, another Capitals prospect who continues to shine. I'll break it all down next. March Madness is here, and FanDuel is giving you the chance to get in on the action like never before. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. That's $200 extra bucks to use on everything from buzzer beaters to Cinderella stories, and even who's cutting down the nets. I've got my eyes on a few underdogs this year, and FanDuel makes it easy to back them up with spreads, totals, and game props. So if you want to get excited about March Madness, and I loves me some college basketball, if you want vested interest in all of these games, open up the FanDuel app, put a little bit of money on these games. All of a sudden, they got that much more exciting. So visit FanDuel.com and get on the college hoop actions all tournament long.
The NCAA tournament is here, and so is the Bracket Breakdown.
Locked On Podcast Network and Amazon Fire TV channels are teaming up to deliver NCAA tournament coverage like never before. Watch studio shows featuring former players and Locked On's local experts as they guide you through every upset, buzzer beater, and bracket matchup.
Stream it all for free on Amazon Fire TV channel. Search Bracket Breakdown to see it all for free.
It's your team every day.
All right, welcome back into this edition of Locked On Capitals, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. The best way that you can help grow the show is to subscribe to Locked On Capitals on YouTube and comment anything down below. All right, in this next segment here, we're talking about elite prospects for the Capitals. And the next player I'm talking about, you should be quite familiar with, as a lot like Ryan Leonard. I've spoke about him quite often on the show, and that is Andrew Cristall. Quite a dynamic player, one of the last players cut at camp. There was the distinct possibility that he could have made the roster this year, but a lot like Leonard, I think that ultimately playing where they're at right now, not to the NHL, Boston College or playing in the junior level, it has helped take their game to the next level. So let's do that in this next segment. Let's talk about the latest with Andrew Cristall. If you're not too familiar, drafted 40th overall in the 2023 NHL Draft. Cristall, well, he has quickly established himself as an offensive dynamo in the WHL. You know how some players just light up the scoreboard? Well, Cristall is doing just that, shattering point totals and making a name for himself. Elite company that he's in, friends with Connor Bedard, that sometimes these successful circles really breed some really great talent. But for as far as Andrew Cristall is concerned, what makes him tick? The one big tool in his tool set is his hockey IQ, and it is off the charts. One of the things about him is Cristall has the incredible ability to anticipate plays and read defenders like a book, which puts him a step ahead of everyone else on the ice. And you do hear hockey IQ mentioned more and more in the National Hockey League about, we heard that about TJ Oshie and different players, that they just see the ice that much better than some other players. And as far as Cristall, it's really impressive to see how he can exploit defensive gaps and find those open teammates. And what makes him so successful, he's got a deceptive shot and has the vision to make pinpoint passes, making him a true dual threat. His ETA, if you're asking me right now, next season, I'm pushing all my chips in on Andrew Cristall. I see what he's done for Kelowna. I've seen what he's done with Spokane. I've seen what he did in camp. The time is now. And when I say now, I mean to start next season. But his stats are quite impressive. Just look at his numbers. Prior to being drafted, Andrew posted an astonishing 39 goals and 95 points in just 54 games with Kelowna. Last season, he racked up 111 points in 62 games, finishing 5th in the league. In this season, is there any dip? Is there any knock to his game? He's leading the entire CHL in scoring after his recent performance where he had 6 points in one game. He's on an incredible pace right now for 131 points in just 57 games. That is, well, phenomenal. And what is it all about for him? What is the secret sauce offensive magic? In just 3 weeks with Spokane, he's had crazy games with 5, 6, and even 7 points. And it's clear from these stats that he can work magic. And when it comes to offense, he excels in tight spaces, maneuvering around defenders with elite edge work. And even if he doesn't have the hardest shot, his deceptive release paired with pinpoint accuracy makes him a weapon on the ice. And what are some of the things that he needed to work on? Was his skating. Some people said that he didn't have those explosive bursts of speed, that he needed to work on his size, you know, what he could work on. He can't get any taller, but bulking up a little bit so he doesn't get pushed off the puck so easy. that is what he did. So let's talk about those areas of improvement. Cristall does have some work that he needs to work on, it is why he slipped to 40th overall. While he has elite edge work, his skating mechanics aren't quite up to par with some of the league's best. They're better, and like I said, his size at 5'10", 185-pound frame makes it a bit easier for defenders to close in on. But he still worked on that, bulked up where he could, limiting his offensive capabilities off the rush. Defensive side of his game, we're talking about things. If we have to pick some bad stats, we can't ignore the defensive side of his game. It's definitely a work in progress. He's got to get up on the ice. He can get a bit lazy when tracking back, leading to some defensive lapses. So some good, some bad. And that's what I'm talking about towards the end of this segment are things that he needs to work on. His positioning in the D zone needs improvement, and he can get physically overwhelmed, which makes him a liability at times. But, what I've seen is improvement. And, he's still a young guy. He's not there 100%. But if, the steps forwards he's taking on his current trajectory and what we saw in camp, I definitely think there is a distinct possibility he makes the team in the fall. And if not, he can still play pro hockey with the Bears. But there's the potential for greatness. Cristall has the potential to be a high-impact player. Talking about stats, his ability to put up big points, and if he works on skating, strength, and defensive awareness, the sky's the limit. And he's already done that. Just needs to be tweaked a little bit. If you want to take a look at a comparable look at Nikolai Ehlers, a high-quality, high IQ player who once faced similar concerns. Ehlers managed to carve out an impressive career by improving his weakness, and if Cristall can follow a similar path, we might just be looking at a future superstar of the Capitals. I do believe it. That, a lot of this talent is good. Obviously Leonard's even a bit better, but it's all about this next wave of Capitals players that has got me real excited. I bet you're excited too. Hit me up on Twitter or on YouTube. Let me know your thoughts on Leonard, Cristall, Cole Hutson, these kind of guys that we think the Capitals are really good. And they are right now, but imagine how great they will be in the coming years. All right. Once again, I want to thank you for joining me on this edition of Locked On Capitals, your only daily year-round podcast covering the Capitals. And I want to thank all of you that listen on the audio side and watch this on YouTube. You are what makes this show successful. When you're done here, head on over to Locked On NHL, where they have you covered 5 days a week, covering all of the NHL, available wherever you find your podcasts and on YouTube. All right, once again, I want to thank you for joining me on this edition of Locked On Capitals, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It is your team every day. My name is Dan Holme, and I'll talk to you again next time.